What's up? What's up? Welcome into the award-winning Orange Zone podcast. A reminder, you can find every episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you want to listen. You can also watch on the Orange Zone YouTube page. If you are watching, what's up from the Skycam? How you doing? Reminder, you can find every episode. Normally, we're going to be doing a lot more consistently pumping these out. And they'll be coming out late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning. So we invite you to like, comment, and of course, subscribe as we chase 1,000 subscribers. That is our goal for this spring and summer, and we're going to make it happen. I'm Tommy Sladek. We have Samantha Croston. We have Ashley Wenskoski. We have Rachel Culver on the producer mic. Today is a nice, what we call variety Orange Zone. We are talking Syracuse men's hoops. Maliq Brown is transferring. He's on the move. What's the deal with Donnie Freeman? Should SU fans really be this excited? SU women's basketball, transfer news. Someone's staying, someone's going. We have two lacrosse teams that are good.
Whew, great.
Good teams. What's the deal with them right now as we head into the month of April? And, of course, we have SU football spring practice. We are in the heart of camp. We have some observations from Ashley. We had some interviews today and also some local recruits that are staying home and going with the Orange. So let's open it up to you guys. Let's start with the men's basketball news. Maliq Brown moving on. This had the same energy as Quadir Copeland, where he was I think, a fan favorite.
Yeah, I think he took on a big role this year, coming in and starting at center in the absence of Naheem McLeod with his injury. And I think this was a move. I mean, I was shocked to see it on my timeline. I think not one we were anticipating, particularly because he told Donna DeToda of Syracuse.com a couple weeks ago that he was intending on staying. So definitely a surprise. I think, probably positional related. He probably wants to go play, forward, power forward, where he's accustomed to. But yeah, that one hurts. I mean, especially just from a depth perspective, even if maybe there wasn't a spot for him next year with the incoming freshman, I think it hurts.
And it is, in a way, to me, the whole thing ends up being a little bit ironic because I do understand from that positional standpoint, right? Everybody these days wants a promised starting spot. But the more people that leave, the more spots ultimately open up. And it is kind of funny to see the way that, players continue to transfer out with really no true promise that things would be better somewhere else. It's an interesting risk that you have to take when you decide to do that. Again, one of those things where you're happy for him, but definitely even in a world where I'm really not shocked by anything anymore, it definitely hurt. And it was an interesting feeling where you really felt like last year he was a fan favorite and someone who you just loved to watch slam the ball down.
And not to mention, he ended up leading the ACC in steals per game. First center to ever do that in ACC history, and that was his quickness being up against these bigger guys. And outside of a few games that I can think of, I mean, he largely held his own on defense. It was so impressive what he was able to do as a 6'8" guy. Of course, DJ Burns got the best of him in the ACC tournament, which ended up being for the best for America. So that's good. And they're still kicking. So go NC State, man. Go
right?
Go Wolfpack.
We are so in on them. But this Brown news, it's a bummer because it really felt like this next year could be that catapult year for him where he takes on that bigger role. And I think one of the biggest questions in the fan base right now, and we're probably not going to get our exact answer on it for some time, but the question is Donnie Freeman coming in, did that impact Brown's decision at all? And so a little background on Freeman, 6'9" power forward. He's down at IMG Academy. McDonald's All-American. He's been a part of those practices this week, and he's the real deal from everything we're seeing. And not to mention he can shoot. He's a shooter at that size. He's got kind of the full package, right? He's a consensus top 25 composite 5-star. And I know Rachel had it on the notes here. On Three's Jamie Shaw listed Freeman third on his list behind Dylan Harper and Cooper Flagg. So he's a name that continues to rise. And that begs that question of what was Brown's role going to be next year if Freeman's coming in taking that 4? Is he going to be forced to be doing more of that 5? Could they both work? That's questions we're going to be asking this offseason.
Yeah, I think probably what went into the decision for both Maliq Brown and Quadir Copeland, obviously, are those starting questions. And I think, but as you said, Sam, I also think it's tough because, sure, you have these freshmen coming in, but none of that's a guarantee. I mean, the guy's playing like 38 minutes a game at Syracuse. Sure, it's at the 5, and that's not where he wants it to be, but the grass is always greener, somewhere else until maybe it's not. And I just think that's the interesting part of the transfer portal these days.
Because when you say, we're going to answer some of the questions, the question we will not know the answer to was, could they both have worked? And that's a question I would have wanted to get the answer to, and I would have wanted to see. So again, it's funny, but I do feel like every single episode we do sort of circle back to just this new era in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at this point, I was seeing the stats, and as far as specifically just on the college men's basketball side for Division I, so far there is already over 1,000 players that have put their name into the transfer portal. It doesn't mean that they've found a new home yet, but they've entered. I mean, that is a massive number. It really is, you know? So it's just interesting to see the way that everything shakes up. Doesn't mean that it's going to hurt us, because that also, on the flip side, of course, means that Syracuse can grab other players out of it too.
And right now, I think Syracuse men's basketball fans are kind of at the low end of what this new era is, because all they've experienced so far this offseason is people leaving.
Correct.
Because Brown joins Peter Carey, Justin Taylor, and Quadir Copeland. We have not had the people coming in yet. And I think this year will start to really give us an idea of when we start seeing the commitments happening to schools, because this is the first year that we're down from a 60-day window to a 45. It ends on May 1st. So my guess is it's mid-April is when it begins, because right now you're still it's going to be those visits, right? And Eddie Lampkin is a center from Colorado that's been the multiple reports going around that Syracuse is one of his interested schools. He's 6'11", 275. Really ended up having a solid few games in the tournament. So, of course, center is a position that we knew even pre-Maliq Brown that we wanted to fill. But right now, Orange fans, they're not feeling great. They don't love this feeling of what is the new era of college basketball, and that is it's going to sometimes be almost a new team every year. But on the flip side, we've seen what the transfer portal can really make a fan base feel in a positive way, and that's with football, right? Mm-hmm. So it goes both ways, and I think when some players start coming in, this fan base will be feeling better and a little bit more comfortable. But that's not to take away how they feel losing, the guys that they loved, like Copeland and Brown.
No, you're exactly right. And I feel like I was interviewing with Mike McAllister last week, who, again, is one of the reporters, producers in our area, who I feel like is always doing a little bit of everything.
He's with 24/7 now.
I was going to say,
Go
he just
Mike.
moved to 24/7, so awesome move for him. But he was saying that you really have to view every single one of these players as if they're on a 1-year contract. And I think that's true. Like, that will lead to less disappointment, really thinking and understanding that it is more of a business now. And it also brings up the question, which hopefully in a month or so, we can have an episode that's specifically dedicated to the transfer portal and NIL deals, because I think that would be really interesting for us to be able to talk more about that. But just again, it's so many factors, and what do you do to make somebody stay, or how do you retain players? Those are the kinds of things that we will be talking about for months and months to come.
Yeah, the portal gives and the portal takes, like you said, but I think it's just hard for fans when you get attached to these guys throughout the season, even if they are here 1 year, 2 years, sophomores. I don't know, you're used to seeing these guys, so it's hard when they leave, and especially a guy like Copeland, a guy like Brown that you kind of thought was going to stay and did have a little bit of attachment to Syracuse.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens here in the coming weeks. Time will tell. Also, Jerry McNamara heading to Siena, so congratulations to Jerry. I think it's a moment the fan base just knew was going to come. He wanted to be a head coach. He's getting his opportunity, allows him to stay in upstate New York. So, hey, go Saints. We'll be rooting them on big time. On the women's basketball side, just right as Maliq Brown's news dropped, Kennedi Perkins' news dropped as well. So guard on the team, came off the bench, became known as the spark plug, and she was just an integral part of that comeback against Arizona in the first round. Came in and took over for Dyaisha Fair when she went down, when she was hurt there for a few minutes. And so this one's I think this one's a bummer. I thought she was going to slide in and kind of fill that role as this team tries to move forward and create its own identity without Dyaisha Fair.
I agree. I think she would have had a bigger role in the backcourt without Fair next season, like you mentioned, but I think it's just another one of those things. Probably another tough conversation, not a guaranteed starting role next year. With the portal these days, you can go find a guaranteed starting role next year somewhere else, and that's probably what it was.
Who knows?
Not to mention, I'm seeing on Rachel's notes that it says right now Dyaisha Fair is not appearing on many mock drafts for the upcoming WNBA draft. Is anyone surprised by that, or no? You can be honest.
Not really, because there's so few picks, right?
Yeah.
It's very, very small. But I can't see a world in which she's not on one of those rosters.
I think she'll get her shot.
I think so too.
5'5", obviously the size is a factor, but I think she'll get a shot somewhere.
Can we take a beat on those games from last night. I
Yeah.
mean, that was just so fun to watch. I know everybody always talks about Caitlin Clark. We're always seeing things about it. But I hadn't really sat down and watched like a true just start to finish game in a while. And I was just so blown away. I was so blown away by the energy.
I love to see it for women's basketball, and I think my whole Twitter timeline was talking about those games. Like, I think to see college women's basketball players become household names, Caitlin Clark, that's great.
Yeah, it was awesome. I was soaking in every minute of it, and like you said, seeing that timeline. And I know for women in sports media, like seeing their reactions from my friends in the business of watching their timeline play out like that, it made me happy. And I feel like we're really trending in an awesome direction as we're seeing the growth with women's college basketball. It's awesome. I mean, Jason Sudeikis was there talking trash in the stands. Like it's a good vibe. Rachel, what's up? Hit me with it.
I think it's important to note that like, not only was it a great day for women's sports, I think it was just a good day for sports. I think that's important to say.
Totally.
And point that out. These games have been exciting. They've been exciting for years. You've had the people that have put up insane numbers and have a lot of talent in the women's college basketball atmosphere, and it's just finally falling into place for the people that are playing right now. But it's been work put in by generations before them, and it's really, really cool to see. And you have like the iconic characters. That's kind of what grew even men's college basketball to the level of success that it has today. You had the Big East, and you had the Jim Boeheims, and you had the John Thompsons, and all of those big names in basketball that made people want to tune in every day and watch. And you have that in Kim Mulkey. You have that in Caitlin Clark. You have that in all of these people now. And I tweeted out, I was one of those people on your timeline probably. I was at the gym last night.
Yeah, I loved this tweet.
I was at the gym last night, and it was so cool to see because, like, obviously I'm watching between sets. Like, it's 7 o'clock and tip-off just went on. But I was at a squat rack, and I would turn around to the TV, and there would be people that I had previously saw across the gym at a different machine. Every time in between sets, they would walk over the TV, they would sit with their arms crossed, and they would look up, and then they would walk back in a commercial break, and it would just go on. And it was a kind of a surreal moment for me. It was so cool.
I love that. It's only up from here, right? And we also have high school flag football just starting in Central New York. Girls flag football.
Cool.
So yeah, we're in good shape. Isabel Verjao will also return, so that's a big deal. So we'll see what else happens with the women's team here in the next month. But moving on. SU Lacrosse. Let's talk about it. Samantha Croston was on the call. I don't know why I went full name there. That was very
Let's
professional.
talk about it in the 2 minutes that Sam has. I'm gonna cook
honestly,
it up for you.
Give me your 2-minute drill on these two teams. Let's start with the. Because both teams are playing Cornell. That'll be over by the time you're watching this. Start with whatever team you want. I want the 2-minute drill. Hit me with it.
I was looking to see. So we have men's team at number 4 in the rankings.
Dropped one.
Women's team at number 3 in the rankings.
Went up.
Both of them at 9 and 3.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, we'll go to the women's side first. Obviously, just smoked Louisville. I don't think that anybody was surprised to see that. But this is a team that is defined by their versatility. At every single position on the offensive side of the ball, you know how you always hear that phrase thrown around, everybody on the offense is a threat. If you look through a book and you look up that definition, you're seeing the Syracuse women's lacrosse team because every single person is truly someone who you have to look out for. I think that coming up with a plan to defend them as a unit is a nightmare. The only hole that they have right now, currently, and this can definitely change, is their goalie, Delaney Schweitzer. She's just not playing up to the level that you're used to seeing her play at, and she's not hitting consistently that 50% mark, which I think in women's college lacrosse is what you want to see. The men's team on the other side, I was very impressed by what they did at Notre Dame. Even though they lost, I think they really made a statement to the ACC and the entire field that they are competing for a championship this year. I wouldn't think that it would be a crazy thing to say that we could see them on championship weekend. I think that's a statement I can make right now, and maybe 50% of people or more would agree with. I think not in comparison. What would be the opposite of that?
Contrast?
Yeah. I would say in contrast to the women's team, the men's team has an amazing goalie who's playing amazing right now, which is Will Mark. right now, I don't necessarily see their holes as one position, but just as continuing to finish as a group and grasping some of those overtime wins if there is another opportunity where that presents itself. But I think both of them are, of course, trending in the right direction. It's just a matter of how far they're going to go.
Okay. You got to go?
Thanks for having me, everybody.
Sam's got to go.
Off to some solar eclipse coverage.
So a little background. If you're new to us, we are on. We work for CNY Central outside of this, so it's the NBC, CBS, and CW in Syracuse. And Sam's the hybrid sports and news. So on days like today, sometimes you just got to shift out and get to the story. So she's gone, and I'm gonna have Ashley slide over to Sam's seat, and I'm gonna do a little cut here. When we're back, this chair's gonna be gone, and Ashley's gonna be over there, and it'll be like magic. Boom. All right, seamless transitions. Just Ashley and I now, and Rachel, of course. We just lose Sam. But as for these lacrosse teams, so we are taping this Tuesday afternoon, which means the SU women and Cornell women just got started. I was just going to make a score prediction, but I'm not going to do that. Not going to jinx it. The men are playing Cornell at night, so that's a huge game. Obviously, by the time this is coming out, that'll be over. So we're just more so looking ahead. But yeah, both teams to me, I think, are doing very well. Obviously, top 5 or top 4. Wait, no, the men
Two top.
The women
Men
went
are
up to 3.
Yeah, so two top 4.
2 top 4, which is very cool. And the men only have 2 games left after this Cornell game, and it's a little bit of a ways away. It's at UNC on April 13th, and then they're home on April 20th to take Virginia, and that's the season finale. Paul Gates' jersey retirement will be then, so that'll be really exciting. And then at night's pretty big thing as well.
Yeah, I think the men's team in particular, is kind of an entirely different team than at this time last year. Like Sam mentioned, that loss to Notre Dame, tough to kind of swallow it again, but you're in South Bend, you're at Notre Dame. That's always one of the harder college lacrosse environments to play at. And I just think that was encouraging to me. They only lost by 2 goals. What was it, 14-12? And I think last year, obviously, that was not the case. They struggled a little bit more. I think that's a game, if you see those two teams square off again on championship weekend, it could go the other way. The Syracuse could win that game. So I thought that was more encouraging than anything. And of course, the women just keep on rolling. I feel like I just see the women, and it's just like crazy scores every game, like 10-point wins. So Kayla Trainer really has got some magic going there.
Yeah, and if you're local, by the way, head on out on, is it this? Yeah, it's this Saturday. They're playing a home game at Cicero North Syracuse High School. So went to it last year. It's really fun. The stands are packed, and it just makes you realize that some of the best players in the country are just playing on a high school field. It's very neat. So, and as we mentioned, April 20th is a busy day at the Dome because the spring football game is happening that night. And this game was pretty empty last year. Pretty empty. Granted, the Syracuse Crunch were in the playoffs. There was a lot going on, but it was a 2-hand touch ordeal. We'll find out what this year's game is going to be, but I think there's going to be a lot of fans in there just trying to get a glimpse of these teams. This team, see Kyle McCord for the first time. It's exciting. You heard from Fran today. You heard from a few other people. What stuck out to you from practice media availability?
Well, we heard from Marlo Wax. He kind of took us through a walk through his decision to return this year, which I know is something we were all kind of holding our breath in December to see if Marlo would come back. And he said he did consider declaring for the NFL draft. He considered the portal. He considered going somewhere else. But Fran really sat him down the first week he came in as head coach and said, I think genuinely the best thing for you as a player and as a man would be to stick with us this year. And obviously then took him through all that we've been talking about, his new vision. He wants to win, the whole 9 yards. So Fran was a major factor in Marlo coming back, and we're definitely happy to have him back. I think that defense is going to be something.
It's one of those defenses where if I was an offensive player, I'd be like, oh my God, these guys are exhausting. And I know they're chirping. I know they talk a lot of trash. So it would just be exhausting, but that's also the type of defenses that make you the best.
Absolutely.
So that's exciting. And then in terms of recruiting news, we got 2 CBA guys.
Yeah, local guys. We had offensive lineman Matthew Hahn commit just the other day to join the class of 2025, and he joins Darian Williams, who we did did a little feature on a couple weeks ago on the Orange Zone wide receiver. So 2 CBA guys in the class of 25. And I think we should talk about the class of 25 for a second. I know it seems so far away right now, but Hahn became Syracuse's 10th commit. That's good for second in the ACC behind Clemson, who currently has 11. And I think it's just an interesting start for Fran Brown on kind of the first class, right? He was rushed in the class of 2024, obviously did as much as he could in a short period of time, but this is a class right now that's top 15 in the country. I mean, I know it's very early, so let's not get too excited, but how about it?
Yeah, and Christian Brothers Academy, it's like basically in the backyard. It's a stone's throw from SU, and it is important to note that SU did not sign a single player from CBA Syracuse during the Dino Babers era. There was a CBA in Albany, but I think that's interesting, and I think that's a testament to Fran Brown's impact on recruiting locally, which he said he wanted to do.
That stat to me when I saw that yesterday, that they didn't sign a single CBA Syracuse kid during 8 years of Dino Babers. I told you yesterday, it's like mind blowing. I mean,
crazy.
it's one of the best football programs in the state, and it's in your backyard. Literally, it's 4 minutes away. So I'm glad to see them utilizing that local weapon now, and hopefully they keep it coming.
Big time. Rachel, any thoughts on football and just how this whole experience has been with Brown?
I mean, when we were even live, we did our live podcast a couple weeks ago, I think you just kind of get the feel for how everyone in the community is feeling. And outside of football, just the excitement that is coming. And it's like, I feel like it's funny because we've been talking about it for so many months as it's so far in the distance, but like it is right around the corner right now. And there's certainly so much to be excited for come fall.
So much to be excited for. And I just think the spring just keeps, they've upped that ante so much with the intensity of practices. It's great to see. And I'm excited for the spring game.
Here we go. All right. That's it for this week's Orange Zone. We will be back next week and hopefully some more transfer news. We'll have more on SU football, and we'll be sure to be working to bring you more clips from SU football practice. There were some features that Ashley and I did with Camden that I want to be pushing out there on the YouTube. So we're going to have a lot more football content coming here. And yeah, it's going to be fun. We're looking forward to it. Tommy Sladek, Ashley Wenskoski, Rachel Culver. That's the Orange Zone. Comment, subscribe. We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We're out of here. Peace.